My name is Akila, and this is The Black Man's Redemption. In this podcast, we talk with real Black men on issues that affect Black men on a whole. Let the healing begin. Welcome back to another episode of The Black Man's Redemption. We're still here at season 2 discussing polygamy versus Gyalisism. And here in episode 3, I'm very glad to have as our guest Conroy Bonnick. He is a guidance counselor at Rhodes Hall High School. He's a youth mentor with years of experience working with young people and families across Jamaica. He's an entrepreneur, founder of Con's Cut mobile barber services. He's also the founder of Con's Op Media, and where he explores culture, mindset, and social issues in the Caribbean. And if that wasn't enough, he's also pursuing his master's degree in strategic digital marketing at Arden University. So big up, big up, big up. You have so many things going on. I'm so glad you could be here with us.
Pleasure.
Yes. So let's just hop straight into it. And I know as a guidance counselor at a high school, no less, you on a daily are talking to boys and girls. So you see maybe the effects and such of Gyalisism. So I guess my very first question for you is, what is polygamy and what is Gyalisism? What is a Gyalis?
Well, once again, thanks for having me. I am, delighted to be a part of such a conversation. So most sociologists are persons who communicate with people on these premises, trying to understand the system like polygamy, Gyalisism. You have to put it into perspective. The truth is, you have to take it from as far as like way back. You have to go back as far as Africa, because we have to use our historical context to make sense of what the two ideologies really are. So when you talk about polygamy, though, it's really so some persons might just think, it's the opportunity for you to get sexual freedom, but surely it's not. It's more of a structured, institutional, more regulated kind of a system that, was created for more, what should I say, more accountability or more economic sustainability. Whilst on the other side of things, we have Gyalisism, which I was reasoning with a friend the other day, and even ordained this morning, I was saying that, really actually, Gyalisism, it looks as though it's something that should be celebrated or something that really brings a badge of honor that should make you feel good. But the history of it is saying otherwise. It's really it born out of weaknesses. What's his name again? Barry Chevannes. He did a study where, based on what he's saying, his analysis is essentially saying that, it's because of slavery and the Black man was really, carrying this chip on his shoulder. So if you look at it closely, it's really a facade where the male is tripping over himself psychologically, trying to find himself, because slavery, as I mentioned earlier, you have to use the history to shape, the true meaning of what these things are. So slavery, as you would appreciate, slavery really destabilized the family structure. It disempowered the man, and so because of the fact that they were not around, or they never had family at the time, or they were not, marriage weren't even legal then. So most times the male would not even be home. So, being able to provide, having a home, all of these structure these are some of the markers of manhood, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So slavery never provided that. So in order to, so as what I would call personally like a compensatory strategy for manhood or masculinity, the male would just go about having sex with all these females just to feel like a man or have that psychological connection to his masculinity. So Gyalisism is more of a free-spirited, unregulated, informal, you know, we have wanting to be a man, you know, yeah. So it's really for Gyalisism is really like, you know, the psychological gratification, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
So
And
they're
as you,
two different things. So one is more structured and institutional and respected, while the other is not. It's more close to modern day expression.
mhm. As you brought up slavery, it's so interesting that you brought that fact up. One of the things that I personally learned is that on some plantations, of course, probably all the plantations, you would have that one Black man who, looking at it from a breeding point of view, he has desirable qualities. He's big, he's strong, may or may not be docile enough to, you know, the same way you would select a good bull to breed is the same method they use to select one of these men to breed many women. So I feel like that also may be a historical point at which Gyalisism actually came into being. This whole basically we're kind of perpetuating this slavery mentality of having to breed all these women. And as you
Right.
also pointed out, the lack of family structure that's coming from slavery, and this kind of being the only way that men have been able or think that they are able to express their masculinity. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Right, right. Well, for me, based on my understanding, it couldn't have been anything less than just that. So it's like, you know, the masculinity was relegated into to 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 nearly nothing, and no male want to feel as though they don't have any power, you know, because you would appreciate that slavery stripped them of that kind of a power,
Yeah.
that kind of a leadership quality or expectations, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you've clearly defined the difference between Gyalisism and polygamy. Gyalisism, let me just recap, and you can tell me if I'm accurate. Gyalisism being this sexual drive just to spread seed as a way of compensating for some perceived or real lack within your own manhood, while polygamy is a more structured, based on whichever society in which you're living in. It's a structure of family building, but with
Yeah,
multiple women.
that's correct. Because so most people think that, oh, I'm polygamous. So I'm able to now have free sexual access. That's not so much the case, because if in polygamy, if you do not have this kind of a economic structure capacity, then you know you won't make good at being the leader in that kind of a system, if you would appreciate. Whilst on the other side, Gyalisism is more about identity. It's more individualistic. You know, it's about me. I'm the man. I did this. But why did you do that? Were you
Yes.
doing it to feel good because you feel less than? You get what I'm saying?
Bragging rights.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So that's how I really see it. They're two different kind of concepts.
So right now in my generation, all these girls are trying to do everything the men do. All the bad things we want to be like. There's this term that's trending on social media, women in men dominated fields, where they're always like, oh, for example, if a man's going to be a gallus, then a girl wants to be a manis. So I want to ask you now, why do men want multiple women? And is there any biological and psychological factors that drive men to desire multiple women, whether or not they're going to act on it is a totally different thing. But is there something within a man's biology and his psychology and the social constructs maybe as well that mean that men feel more attracted to multiple women versus women who tend to be focused on one man?
Well, as for me, well, men are naturally attracted to the opposite sex. Yes, but Gyalisism would not give you that kind of a structure that will, help you to be in control or responsible. Because I'm not sure if I pointed out to you that, so essentially one is irresponsible and one is responsible. So Gyalisism won't allow you to be that responsible. You understand me? I said, because the good book says that I was once a child. I don't remember what the phrasing, but it was something like I think he said I was once a child, but when I grew up, I'm no longer a child, something to that effect. So for me, just to answer your question, the male will have the urge, but at some point you have to be in control. You have to be in control. And if I should just go back somewhere where you said that even the females, you coined a term there that you coined a term there. I think you said manicism.
Yeah.
So everybody, if you look closely on sociology or psychology, everybody's tripping over themselves. A large number of persons are suffering from identity crisis. For me personally, based on my observation, it's no worse with the screens or with the social media advent of social media. So when you look at it though deeply, though there are some biological underpinnings or underlyings, I think largely it's psychological, because you won't see the animals having sex with every animal. Yeah, I think in order to have structure in society, at some point, you have to pivot, and to pivot and to be that responsible leader. I don't think Gyalisism would help to commensurate or help you to achieve the goal of being a good leader. Yeah. So I think largely it's about identity crisis. Yeah, we're naturally, people say, oh, we're naturally born to have sex or be attracted to the female. But the truth is, though, can you sex all the females? When are you going to make that responsible decision to say that, oh, let me procreate in a sensible and a more structured and responsible way? So it boils down to you as the human being to just be in control and be responsible. You understand? So sometimes you're given certain blessing, but you have to make sense of it. I can talk, but will you talk forever? You follow what I'm saying? So there's limitation to everything, and then mankind must use some sense of discernment, and it must lend itself to almost everything in life. And that's how I look at it personally. Largely, it's an issue of identity crisis and an issue of us not being so historically grounded in who we are. Yes. So if you look at my bio, at one point I said that the kind of social progress that we need as a people, it's rooted in institutional changes and a Black historical consciousness. So the truth is, I think it is also coming from ignorance as well. The fact that we're uneducated and not aware.
That's a good point. And that lack of identity, I feel like some of that identity building comes from community, good or bad, comes from community and brotherhood and connecting with a sort of not necessarily fully a father figure, but someone like you're a guidance counselor,
right.
Youth mentor. What are some of the things you've come across with these young men Like, can you identify from, I don't know what age range you deal with, but is there a point at
From
which you
13
say,
to as,
hmm?
from 13 to as far as, say, probably 18.
From 13? So looking at a
I'm
13,
not from 11, sorry.
so
Yes.
looking at a 11 to 13-year-old boy, because they are boys,
Yes.
they're not yet men.
Yeah.
Are they, can you look at them and say, this one, he's being a bit too much? I guess my question is, what are the small cues that you can pick up to see, or do you know if there are any small cues you can pick up to see, is a boy being raised in a way that will allow for him to be more conscious about his interactions with females? Or can you look at some of them and say, yeah, you're being raised by a Gallus and to favor Gyalisism?
So essentially you're asking, are there any cues or are there any reflection are indicators that would tell me that, oh, this young man would be responsible? Yes, you would see that. The child is really a reflection of the home. So for me personally, who was a counselor, will be looking at things from a more psychological angle, or looking through my psychological spectacles. You can see that. You can readily see, the students who probably go to church, who share certain values, positive values at that, because there are different values. Based on the way they talk, like common courtesy, you wouldn't see a child pass without saying, good morning, sir, good afternoon, these kind of things. So when you don't have to remind a child of certain social graces, that's one of the cues. When you're in having your discussion and based on their reasoning skills and some of the things that they share, because you know that the values are the things that you value affect the type of conversation that you have or discussion. So that's also one of the cues, like day-to-day interactions, and their academic performance. You see, based on their academic attitude and their consistent high grades, you're saying that, oh, this child is coming from a home that, would hold the child accountable for his or her work, because you have some students, whenever even the teacher say you should go to class, they are on the defensive because they're not being held to account at home. So whenever somebody say this to them, it's new, and they're like, what are you saying to me? So I think that's one of the things that is bedeviling this new family structure, especially this side. Don't broad brush anything, but I'm speaking based on my opinion and what I'm seeing. Not done this, I've not done the research, but it's clear based on my observation, because you would appreciate that data is also collected via observing. So what I see personally, the students are not being held to account. They will freely. They're not allowed to live up to any form of expectations. There are little to no goals that will guide them, because sometimes I remind them that, listen to me, we don't want to end up like Columbus, because we teach goal we teach goal settings. So sometimes we want them to appreciate setting goals, help us to be purpose driven. You don't want to be all over the place. If you're going to Kingston, you're going to Kingston.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't want to be going to Kingston and end up in a sentence.
Exactly.
So yeah, based on what the students behave at school, you will get the cues. The things they say and the things they do. So it comes out in actions, it comes out in communication, and it comes out, in how they actually carry themselves in terms of deportment.
It's so interesting that you said the home life. What do you think are some of the main causes of Gyalisism in modern day time? Like, what produces a man who becomes a Gallus? You already mentioned low self-esteem and a warped sense of manhood, but what within the home and within their community and their environment and influences do you think creates a young boy into a Gallus?
Well, it's peer validation. Oh, yes, this is a man had done. You understand? So, and I said that it's more of a masculine performance. And we really can't move from where we started off, in terms of the explanation. It really goes back there. But in the modern day realities are, yeah, man, yeah, the man, this guy's just like a cool thing, just to find a more contemporary word for a guy to have more than one female, because at the end of the day, even though it looks cool, for me personally, it's still allowing him to look bad, but they because of the whole excitement and the way they value this kind of a behavior. It's like it's hidden. So it's the thing. At the gallus, at the man.
Yeah.
Because if if you look at it closely to, because slavery took away from them, that which would have or should make them a man. You realize it even gave life to what we call the hustle culture.
Hustling, yeah.
If you look at it closely, the hustle culture came in because he wanted to bring back an economic structure that was taken away from him. Because if you look at the institution, or because of the system of slavery that never allowed you to have certain things, you wanted to create your own. And so you created an informal system or underworld, yeah, which is looked upon as hustle culture. Because a lot of even the big man, or the bad man back in the days, let's not put that aside, the bad man was also seen as a Gyalisism.
Of course.
It wasn't just, it's just that more, things kind of evolve over time where Gyalisism have nothing to do with badness. But if you should go back somewhat, Gyalisism was linked to badness. It's just that now we take on different expression and, different psychological way of making sense of it. Yes? So really, it's really an identity kind of thing. One trying to find who they are. It's not moving far away from that. Even though persons might find other ways to explain why, it's a thing, it's a feel-good thing, it makes you feel good. People like to hear when, people saying, yo, am I the gallus? Am I the man? At least I'm gonna have the most girl in the community. Because when I was growing up, you will have males having this conversation and say, yo, man, the money, You understand?
Yeah.
Because yeah, let's face it, males have these male discussion.
Of course.
Where they quote the numbers like, yo, a 3-4 minute. So it's really bragging rights and, a sense, like searching, trying to feel good. It's trying to get that feel good moment, to feel accomplished, if you will. You understand? So it's if you should really drill down, trying to make sense of it, it's more psychological than anything else. And it goes back to what I'm personally saying. I think that because of what slavery did to date, even though on the face of it might just look cool, but I think it's the man tripping over himself psychologically. And I'm willing, I'm hoping for anybody to argue that thing, that position.
So it's so interesting. So one of the key things that I picked up from what you said is control. You didn't say it, but one of the things that come to mind is control. There is maybe a sense of a lack of control in their environment. They do not feel in control of themselves or in control of their destiny, of their opportunities. So they exert a certain amount of control by having a harem of sorts. So one of the things I would like to bring in a little bit of class, social class. Because when I go uptown, you don't necessarily, you see more married men uptown, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I tend to see more married men and settled in, one man, one woman type of vibe uptown. Is more downtown. I see a lot of people like Gyalis this and bagger baby mothers over here and bagger woman type of thing. Do you think that has something to do with it? Do you think that Gyalisism is more prevalent downtown than uptown, or at least more overt? downtown than uptown?
I think it's available uptown and downtown, but you use a keyword there, overt. It's more of a covert thing uptown, but I think largely it's more structured uptown, where you have a structured home. That ideal family. Because as you mentioned, class, remember most of the persons uptown, they were from a more structured system. Yes, and you would appreciate that, some of the things that we face came from Christianity, which in and of itself created a class too, if you would appreciate. So the ideal family would so the ideal family, this was pushed by Christianity, monogamy. So as I said to you, we in the Caribbean, we are living like we have to deal with a hybrid system. Because you're here now, you have to deal with the European structure and the African structure. The European structure said, oh, one woman, monogamy. You understand? While this that we were exposed to is polygamy or polygyny. You understand? So they uptown would have already been exposed or would have been appreciative of the structure already. So even though it may exist, you may have leaks of the Gyalisism, but I think largely, in my opinion, it would have been more structured, more of a monogamy or more of the ideal family. I think more of it is downtown. Yes, because if you should look at it closely, remember, if you're disempowered or if you don't have this kind of economic stability, yes, because Barry Chevannes is really saying that because of poverty, through the same disempowerment. Yeah. So what this is telling me now that it's mostly downtown, because one of the reasons why they're remember, one of the reasons why they're doing it in the first place is because they weren't so strong economically. You understand? So this would actually conclude that most of it is really downtown.
That makes a lot of sense. One of the things that you mentioned, economics.
Yes.
What is crazy to me, and I said this in a previous interview, I feel like most of the Gyalis, not a lot of the Gyalis seem to be broke.
There you go.
How are you going to manage? And girls like things, especially if it's casual. She wants things from you. She may not like you for you. She wants things from you. So how are you going to manage 2, 3, 4, 5 women who want things from you and you don't have resources?
There you go. This kind of conversation, there's just some key things that should keep it going, and you will find us maybe repeating ourselves because these are the things that will help you to make sense of these two economics. So you will have to keep on repeating certain things: stability, this empowerment, structure, institution, and formality or informality. The truth is, the Gyalis, they are not prepared for it. But when you check it out, say for example, they have a lot of baby mother. Most times they can't take care of the kids. It's because of the dependent family. That most of these kids most times are properly nurtured, because make sense of it. If you're poor or if you don't have this kind of economic structure, how is it that you're going to sustain 32, 40? Because I know persons have a lot of kids,
Yeah.
But you're not working. They don't have an income now, really and truly. Had it not been for the females family structure, things wouldn't have been good for the child. And I think that's irresponsible. And polygamy don't welcome those kind of a behavior, because it is that structured and it is that economically stable. While on the other side of things, it's not. So it's more of a a free, as I say, individualistic, informal system. Gyalisism. It's just reckless.
So as you said, one of the recurring themes that we've been talking about is economics.
Right.
Now let's talk about the price of polygamy. And you refer back to, you know, back in the days, African societies. And I always think, I'm always thinking, you know, it's not the poor man that had multiple wives. It's usually kings, it's the chief, it's the man that had money, because
somebody who has the economic capacity,
exactly,
as established
because
previously.
each of the wives, I'm sure, would have to be, their families would have to be paid a bride price. And as I said before, no man in his right mind is going to give over his daughter to some broke man.
Right.
So now let's talk a little bit about the polygamy side of it. What do you think are the basic things that need to be in place for a man to even consider taking on another woman, never mind 2, 3, 4?
Well, first, the man, he has to be economically stable. That's the first thing. You have to have money in your pocket. You know, let's not talk about it, anything else, because, you know, with such a system, everything comes after. Because the truth is, most of the female, they don't want to be in a system, you know, that cannot sustain them, that cannot satisfy them. You understand? And to meet those satisfactory demands, it's really money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, money makes the world go on, as you know. Money makes the thing work.
Yeah.
You know, so you show me the money. So it's really about the money. That's the single most important thing, money, the economics of things. You know, how can we make this work, whether it's legitimate or not? You know, even to marry somebody legally, you have to have money in your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the sad part. I think if you see somebody who you personally wants to be a queen, you shouldn't need to spend money to make it legally sound, you know, or for it to be legally established. So it's just a system. That's how the system was created, you know. But yeah, money. I think money is the single most important thing when it comes down to polygamy. You know,
Because if you
it's
don't have
nothing.
money, you don't have time. And if you don't have time, how are you going to mind them all? And then of course, you know, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes what's her name with the baby carriage. And if you have that times 10,
Right.
let's talk about it, because children are a huge part of this equation. And how do you have time? How do you have time for many wives and then many children?
I think because most time, you know, I think even the males sometimes is not even there. They're all doing business, they're working. So I just think it's because it's really that culture. So it's not like, you know, everybody, like in every unit or every unit in society has its function and rules. And I don't think that kind of a system would be any less. You know, rules will be established, and it's the same thing with group. As we grow as human beings. We've been a part of groups, family groups. We go to school with this group. And the truth is, in each group, every single student has a function, you know, and even if they are not functional, we create a function, we create a role or a responsibility, just like in the classroom. You know, who will be the class leader? Nobody wants, well, let's do a vote. You know, if you don't want to be, then you decline. So in polygamy, everybody has a role, and rules are established to make the system work. You understand? For it to be efficient. Because nobody will be looking at each other clueless, not knowing what to do, because rules would have been established. So it's something that they've been doing. It's something that exists for quite some time, and if it's coming from as far as slavery days, or let's not say slavery days, from African history, because as most thinkers would say, slavery wasn't really our history. You know,
yes, that's European history.
Yeah, slavery disrupted our true African history and culture. So yeah.
So I guess having that system and having the support of the community around you. I mean, I'm sure a father took his son aside and say, hey, you know, soon you'll be of marrying age. So here are the things you need to know. Here are the things you need to have in place. And, you know, I'm sure you'd support him in making sure those things are in place. And he enters that union of multiple women or not with an idea of what his role is and how he fits into that equation. But Gyalisism, it doesn't, there's no role. It just seems that it's
free.
yeah, it's as
formal, it's unstructured.
Unstructured.
Because sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm trying to, while you were at it, I'm trying to remember this psychologist. He was essentially saying that when the family breaks down, society breaks down. George Beckford reminds me of, I'm trying to remember if it's really George Beckford, but I learned about, I think he was a functionalist. So essentially saying that the child learn about the system from home, because the home is like a microcosm of what exists out there. You understand? They learn about economics. They learn about, working together. They learn about how to socialize, these kind of things. So everything starts from within the home. And if the home is not so structured, then the child will grow up into somebody who's not so structured, or somebody who don't necessarily use to structure. You understand? So as I said to you in previously, that the child at school is a reflection of the home. You can observe the child and know whether or not if the child is from a structured home. And even if the home is not so structured, you will realize that certain values are adhered to, are embraced in that same home.
Yeah. So when you said that the home is a microcosm is that the right word?
Yes.
Microcosm of wider society, I want to jump right into the point of the effects of Gyalisism. When you have a Gyalis father who have 11 baby mother, you're one of 203 picnic, and you ain't never seen the man maybe come to drop off a one shoes to you, and that's the first and last time you seen the man. And you just hear him up on the road doing what he's doing, and you hear say that person over there might be your half brother, or that person, don't trouble that girl over there because she is related to you.
Yes.
The effect then, do you feel like you're more likely to become a Gyalis if you're seeing that and it's reinforced? Let's talk about the effects of Gyalis. How does Gyalis affect the society directly and indirectly?
Well, so as I said, persons will look up to person, and as a child growing up, if that's what you see and know, that's what you want to become. You understand? It's also observational learning. So if that's all the child knows, and if you're in that space, displaying that kind of a behavior and not taking the time out to, inculcate in the child that, listen, don't follow me, it's wrong. You understand? It's not something that I'm proud of. It's just like some parents, because my parents, sometimes, especially my father, you used to swear, but you can't swear around him. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. So that because you do it, you shouldn't allow the child to do it. But there's this thing that I embrace and I believe in it. If you don't want it to be done, don't do it. Yeah, man. Because what gonna happen is the same thing at school. You cannot disrespect the child and expect the child not to disrespect you. You understand me? I say?
Yeah.
You can't be an hypocrite. If you don't want it to be done, it should not be projected at all. You understand? Because then the questions will be asked, then why are you doing it?
Exactly.
You understand what I said? And then everything gonna break down now, because then you're not going to be able to say with a strong moral authority that, listen, I'm the guidance counselor, I'm the leader. No, it doesn't work like that. That's not how you get respect, and that's not how you really shape behavior. Then you're gonna lose some level of trust there. You understand? So we grew up in a system that says, do as I say, not as I do. But I think everything comes from do. If you want the baby, anybody, the learner to respect you, you do. Don't just say. And even if you say, make sure it's a reflection of what you really do. Practice what you preach. And I think that personally works for me. I think that's why I should say that's one of the measures that helped me to earn the students' respect. You understand? I'm not going to just abuse my authority. I'm not going to do to you what you don't like. I'm not going to say, oh, do this or do that because I have the authority. If it's not right, then I'm not going to do it. You understand? You have some leaders that say, they talk to the kids in the worst way. I don't want you to talk to me, so I'm not going to talk to you in a certain way, whether you are a child or not. I speak to every student at their age level, if I should put it that way. I'm not going to talk to a grade 11 like a grade 10, and a grade 10 like a grade 7, grade 13 like a 7. No. It's how you do it. It's how you do things.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. So largely, the younger one will learn from you based on observation. So you have to be careful of what you do. The world is watching. Careful.
Very much so. There's this Trinidadian comedian. I cannot remember his name. I think it's Trinidad something. Mark Trinidad, maybe? I'm not sure. Trinidad. But there's this line which he said, children learn
what they see
from what they learn. Basically saying children will do what you do. And they may not say it to you, but out the road, they might be saying things out of pocket. They might be doing things out of pocket because that is what they learn from you. And although you may say to them, well, don't do that, they're going to do it out the road with their friends. That is a real effect.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I usually don't bring in the feminine aspect into this platform, but I feel like the men of Gyalis, spoke wrong. The daughters of Gyalis, I feel like they may be more. You've heard the phrase that a girl will marry her father and a boy will marry their mother. They'll tend to be attracted to a person like their father, like their opposite sex parent. And I know that's true for me because my father's very quiet, very reserved. And my man is very quiet, very reserved. And it worked well because God knows my father's no Gyalis. He's a settled down, just chill at home. You can call him at any time. The man is at home. So when you as a girl end up with a man who is very braggadocious, very out on the road, out with all type of women, you have to sit and say to yourself, what was my father doing that I was watching? Because as you probably know as a guidance counselor, some of these things are subliminal and some of these things are in your subconscious, and you don't even know what your child is picking up. You could have done one thing one time and that child consciously or unconsciously carries it.
So yeah, that you're right. Because as a child, you also learn by not learning. So especially at certain developmental stages, the child learning potential is heightened. So you have to be careful of the things that you do around the child at that time. And yes, daddy is the leader in the house, and the child would embrace our like almost all the attributes of daddy, and would want to, see that those same values in another man who they would want to spend the rest of our life with, So I think it's one of those natural kind of a thing that any girl would find himself doing, So you're comparing your man with daddy because daddy have some good values that I've known for a while that I really embrace, and I would love for you to share some of those values, if not all, So yeah, man, it's one of those things, and I'm trying to remember clearly if Sigmund Freud spoke about that, but it's one of those psychological things too.
I think he did, because it's something that comes up in the man-woman conversations, and even and I'm not comparing Gyalisism to pedophiles in any way, but I know that predatory type of men. They say, look for the girl who does not have a father. And even though, you know, Gyalis is not to that level of predatory, it is a slightly predatory type of behavior, maybe not consciously. And yeah, if your father is not present and has not shown you values, you'll be more susceptible to a man that can, I always say it this way. When I was younger and living at home, you know, any man out the road couldn't tell me anything, because anything he says to me out the road, my father already told me at home. Oh, Empress, you're beautiful, you know, you're so nice, you're so, yeah, and that don't turn my head because my daddy told me he loved me this morning. My daddy said, oh, you look nice. My daddy made me feel good about myself. So in nothing you can tell me, you'd have to come very differently. And I think that when your father's not present, especially if he's a Gyalis, and you see, either you see him giving women false praises, or you experience that false praise from him, yeah, you end up with a man that is like that.
So what that is saying is that the presence of the father is very important. The child's success, be it girl or boy, is heavily dependent on the father's presence. And I'm not just saying that off the top of my head. There signs to prove that. You could check it out after this presentation. There are studies out there that says that whenever the dad is present, the child is more academically capable, more emotionally stable, more confident, you know, in self. So it goes back to what Beckford is saying again, is that the father being in the home, or the family, you know, that structure is very important. Every single person has a role to play, and maybe that is why Edith Clarke came up with her study, the mother, you know, who fathered the child. Because, you know, back in the rural days, you know, back then in the rural spaces, majority of the work was being done by mommy while daddy was away, or maybe they were visiting families. And so the mother was that matrifocal being at the center of almost everything. So you know, of course it would have put some pressure and to mommy. And the good thing that probably came from this is that family was sustained, and family adaptation was the thing, because mommy never gave up. So mommy never gave up at all. You know? She endured, and you know, she tried her best to be resolute, and she held on firm while you know they were constrained, and while there were, you know, systemic pressures that pulled daddy away from the home. So you know, the role of everybody is important, and maybe because the system knew of that, they pull away daddy. They don't want certain homes to be firm. You know, we should look at it from a more Black or Pan-African perspective. So yeah, because there's a war on the father, you know.
Oh, very much.
There's a war on Black genetics. Dr. Francis Creswell Singh would have said that. You know, so I think the system of which we're living, the system that marginalizes us, knows this very well. So they try to keep us marginalized. Yeah. Yes, if you will. Yeah. And if we are marginalized, our family and all the family structure will be marginalized. And I think because of the same marginalization, we even have the same Gyalisism. If we never had that, who knows? Maybe that wouldn't even exist. Maybe we wouldn't even be talking about it today. Because the fact or if they were structure, it wouldn't exist, because we see where it came from, you know, from whence it came. It came from a broken system. Yeah, with a broken man.
Yes.
Trying to seek some form of validation And even though it's celebratory, not because something is celebratory or popular, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's the thing. It doesn't make it right. You know,
Yes.
we see where the girl named Sugar and almost all the dancehall artists them promote it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's something that is right. We glorify a lot of things. Remember the other day they were glorifying Polydonsula, you know?
Yes.
So was it right? It wasn't something that was of any substance. It wasn't substantial. It was just weakness. You know, it was just
The
another person
ending.
tripping over himself. You know,
Yeah.
trying to color something into what it's not. So yeah, it's one of them things.
So you said earlier, one of the things you think about polygamy is a lot of the structure. So do you think that polygamy could be beneficial? Could it be valid in the Western world? And more to the point, do you think that Western women could find in themselves to accept polygamy, proper polygamy?
Yes, but it will take a minute. Resocialization, restructuring, because a large number of persons are unemployed. A large number of persons are uneducated too, are unemployable. So it can happen, anything can happen. It's just that we have to put our minds to it and create systems. Maybe if we should look at it from a policy level or a national level, you know, anything can happen. It's just that the systems must be in place for it to work. You know, because as I said before, if you go have a system like polygamy, you have to have money in your clothes. As 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 most of my friends would say when I was growing up, you have to have money, man, in your clothes to make it work, you know. Yeah, and I don't think it's just really money in terms of economics. You have to be educated. You have to be,
And
you know, you have to
accountability.
have a good career to sustain you, you know, because we know what it is already. And of course, if you go embrace that, you're gonna need all the attributes that will you know will help you to tick all the boxes to be polygamous, you know.
Yeah. I think one of the things about polygamy, well, I mean, I'm for it, not for me though. If that makes sense. I'm for it, but not for me.
Right.
And one of the things I've analyzed within myself is I'm a little clingy. I'm a
Hmm.
little territorial. And I think a lot of women feel that way, especially when you're in a society in which I think because of Gyalisism, women are very put their back up against polygamy. Because Gyalisism has shown us when men go hog wild through the
Hmm.
women, that's how they behave. And you don't want to open up, maybe you get your one good man and you don't want to open up and start to see maybe a negative side because of the negative connotations Gyalisism has given polygamy and the lack of accountability that it is shown that a lot of men just don't have. And I'm going to use a broad brush.
Hmm.
It does not seem like our Black men practice a lot of, especially of my like the 30s to into the 20s generation, not a lot of discipline, not a lot of discipline. So I said discipline already. Not a lot of discipline, not a lot of accountability. And I think these are the basics of even a monogamous relationship. It seems like it's been hard for them to get to the point of just being stable within a monogamous relationship and give women in general a sense of, yeah, okay, he's got this. I think once on a larger scale, women feel like, okay, he's got that. He's handling that. He's handling himself in this monogamous relationship. I think a woman would be more likely to say, all right, if you can handle me and I'm feeling okay in the way that you're handling me,
Hmm.
maybe I'll let you get another wife. Maybe. But I think
Right.
overall, if there's not more effort towards accountability and towards sexual discipline, that's one of the things I didn't um, talk about earlier that I really did want to talk about. The sexual responsibility and this sexual discipline that is very much lacking. And I feel like if that is not in place in a
Right.
general sense.
I think we talk about it by not talking about it. We mentioned control.
Mm-hmm.
And the discipline, the sexual discipline of which you speak, it will, help them to be in control, you know. I think, because we've held on to monogamy for quite some time, it puts us in a position to question polygamy.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Because had it been a case where we grew up on polygamy, we wouldn't have any problem.
Of course. And systems
But,
would have been in place.
right. And so the transatlantic slavery destroyed all of that, if you will. And so Gyalisism will be looked upon as what it is, where they're donning, being a person who, has this sexual prowess, our badge of honor, So I think monogamy kind of, damage it somewhat, if you will. Because most persons, all they used to is monogamy, and we are predominantly a Christian society. And so even for some person, polygamy is it's taboo. They wouldn't even want you to be even talking about Gyalisism, much less polygamy. Like, why are you even thinking down that line? We're not from that civilization or time. We are Christians. We don't practice that kind of a thing. But the truth is, were we really Christian? Who are you? So it goes back to the same identity crisis issue. Everybody's tripping over themselves. We don't even know who we are.
Yeah. And
that's why I think that, that for us to develop the kind of strength and forward thinking and progress, I think we have to go as far back as we possibly could. So the roots are important. If we should apply to almost everything, even with trees, even with the same what's it called? Even with trading, they say so it was in the past, so it will be in the future. If something happened in the past, chances are it will happen in the future, and that's how you use. These are some of the things that we use to guide us, the history. So it's one of those things. You have to embrace the roots, man. And that's why I don't know. I find it difficult to say I probably will be a Christian. I think being educated sometimes or searching for the truth sometimes kind of puts you in that ambivalent position. I don't want to say I'm ambivalent. I want to say I'm informed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you ambivalent is too much of a weak word, you don't want to use such a negative word to describe you being informed, you're finding out who you are. Nothing is wrong with finding out who you are. Maybe that's a problem. We're not searching for who we are. We're searching for who they tell us, who we are. So that's one of the things. Respect the history and the historical context. It helps us to make sense of whatever is happening in the here and now.
I definitely agree with that. Concept of Sankofa, looking back to make your decisions to go forward.
Yeah. That's how it works, So history informs us.
It does.
Yeah, they put a lot of dent in the Black history. They try to whitewash a lot of things, but in order for you to make sense, even if you don't want to read, then listen. We have YouTube. You understand? We have a lot of platforms that can inform us. Listen to Black Man Redemption.
Yes. Because you will definitely hear, because I really want you to drop me those the names of those philosophers and psychologists that you cited, definitely, so I can include them in this description.
Yeah, man, sure thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the end of my questions. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I just want to say that I like this kind of a platform. It opens up a conversation that is necessary, especially now. We think that young people should create an avenue for these kind of a conversation to not just empower young people, but to empower the uninformed at any age range or level. So the truth or the benefit from these conversations is that it strengthens you, it teaches you, and it heals you. Because, even a Gyalis who's being bedeviled by Gyalisism, they would probably start doing some sense of introspection and reflection, like, what they're rotting. So we change the perspective, we change the way you see things, because so the good thing about platforms like these, they will be insightful. It will allow you to think and it will allow you to value, what is being said. Because clearly we're not just having some unstructured, informal conversation. It is something that's well researched. It is something that's scientific, and it's something that we should be talking about. That will bring value to the fore. So I'm happy for this kind of a platform, and I hope it gets the attention that it should get. To spread the word, to assist with the redemption of Black consciousness. I like the movement, so that's why I take the honor of participating. On time.
And it's a great honor to have you on, and I hope to see you in later seasons.
Yes, man. I definitely will try and come on board wherever possible to continue the conversation. So we're making the ancestors proud. We're making our legends and leaders proud. The Sankara, the Marcos, the Patrice, everybody, the Malcolm X and the Luthers. So yeah, I'm appreciative of this movement. Keep it going. So thanks again, and of course we'll catch up.
Yes, thank you again, Bonnick, and have a great rest of the day.
Pleasure.
This has been another episode of the Black Man's Redemption. If you have any questions or comments, or want to pose a new topic, leave a message for us on one of our podcasting platforms, or leave a comment or direct message at our Instagram @Black Man's Redemption. We'd like to thank our guests for their contributions and our listeners for their questions. Now's the time for healing. Let it begin.